Good morning and welcome to BBSN. Today we're going to be going over the stats from last night's finals win for the Golden State Warriors, which secured Curry his fourth NBA championship. And to jump in with the first stats for the Golden State Warriors, we're going to be going over how many points they actually scored in the series. So for the series, actually, they were averaging closely to around 105 points per game versus the Celtics 101 points per game. The rebound totals were actually very similar compared to Warriors 41.7 and the Celtics 43.2. However, Kevin Looney and Andrew Wiggins, both with those performances on the glass, I believe that the rebounding and the assist game were the ones that actually really decided the series. Steals, it was pretty much complete steal for the Warriors, with having 10.3 and 6.2 for the Celtics. Blocks, on the other hand, were actually really similar to a degree. Robert Williams III had a great series when it comes to blocking and getting into the post. I would say that because of that, that's the only reason why it went 6. Without Robert Williams, I could have saw it going maybe 4, maybe even 5. But the magic number for the Celtics in turnovers was around 16, and so at 16 and up, they always pretty much lost the game in that series, in the playoffs, I mean. But for the Warriors, it was around 14, 13.8. Their field goal percentage, however, was almost identical, being 44.6 for the Warriors and 43.5 for the Celtics. Surprisingly, the Warriors actually shot worse than the Boston Celtics from three-point range. The Warriors having 37% and the Celtics having 41%. Free throw percentages. Cover for the Warriors, it's going to be 81% and the Celtics 75%. In Game 6, the Warriors only had 4 trips to the free throw line, but thankfully they were able to convert on all 4 of them. The leading scorer for the series was obviously Stephen Curry for the Golden State Warriors. Second to that would be Jaylen Brown with 23.5, and Curry had 31 points per game, by the way. Tatum did not perform as they expected that he would, and he didn't come to play. Your playmakers will always show up if your team needs you the most, but he didn't show up one bit whatsoever. Draymond Green had an on and off series, but for being defensive, he had a really good Game 6. Even with 12 points, he had a lot of good defensive stops, as well as Andrew Wiggins on Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum really struggled in that series, partially to the great defense by Andrew Wiggins, I would say. About half of the shots that he took were on Wiggins, and like a quarter of those he actually only made. But going on from that, Al Horford, he had a great Game 1, but since then he hadn't really been too good with that. He was the Celtics' leading rebounder, though, with 8.5 for that series. Wiggins had 8.8 for that. And then going down to the actual minutes per game, the field goals. So for this one, Curry shot 44% from 3. Clay surprisingly shot only 35%, with Jordan Poole shooting 39% from the three-point line. Their points per game, Andrew Wiggins was actually your second leading scorer for the Golden State Warriors. And then moving on to the actual Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum, he still had a good series though. He had 21.5 points per game. His plus or minus is a minus 3.5, so that's not really a good sight to see. I highly doubt that they're going to actually be able to make it back to the finals with this core group for the Boston Celtics. However, for the Golden State Warriors, though, I do see them actually having a great chance at repeating compared to the Bucks last season. Just because they're going to have Wiseman coming back, and then because this was actually the year to beat them. They only had a small core, so you add Wiseman back into that mix, plus whatever trades they do in the offseason or signings. I think they're going to make it back to the finals again next year. And then going a little bit off track, I was going to the Bulls. I do see Zach LaVine staying as long as they do give him a max contract. Like them to give him a max contract? No, absolutely I would not. But I think if it's necessary to keep him, you would do it, just so you can actually keep your core. Vucevic, Lonzo, and then DeMar you can also keep. Lonzo I do see as a movable asset, however. Potentially throw some magic, get some maybe another better point guard for that. Throw some picks in as well. But other than that, I do see them pretty much remaining the same. And then for the Christian Wood Mavericks trade, they had traded Boban, which broke up the greatest comedy duo in Luka and Boban, which is highly unfortunate. Definitely my favorite pair when it comes to making all the jokes and all that, but I'm excited to see what Boban has to do for his career in Houston, or whether they keep him or not. But I do see John Wall also getting out of there eventually. But hopefully, probably before the start of the season, which they did talk about that last season, but that actually never developed into anything. But I do see that as a high option for the Rockets to move. But going on from the Rockets, I do see the Lakers possibly making the playoffs, possibly making the play-in. I don't really see them making the finals whatsoever, though. But for Curry and LeBron, it is basically a race to who can get championship number 5. I personally, my personal opinion is going to be Curry, just because of the performance that he had in the finals this season, and his season overall. But like I said, that just depends on what all happens next season, because you got injuries, you got trades, you got staff changes, you got all of that stuff to worry about. Kenny Atkinson is going to be the Charlotte head coach, so he's going to be off the bench for the Warriors. So it's interesting to see who they're going to fill that void with. Possibly Steve Clifford, or whoever, I can't remember, but whoever the coach for the Hornets was, maybe. But I do see that being a kind of a big impact, but not the biggest impact forever. But moving on from that, I do see the Magic actually drafting Jabari Smith Jr., just because I see that as the biggest possible steal of the draft, pretty much, I guess you could say. I believe that he is the perennial star that everybody says he's going to be, and that he fits in really well with Coach Jamal Mosley's system, I would say. And if you can develop him well, he can actually just probably become a superstar in a matter of seasons. Kind of like how John Morant is becoming now, except as a 4. But that is my take on what has happened so far in the offseason. I will see you guys back after draft night, so probably Friday morning or Friday evening. But yeah, until then, this has been BBSN. I'm Caleb Ramos, and thank you for watching. Have a great day, everybody.